recorded.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this regular meeting of the Vader City Council. It is 6:04 p.m. on September 13th, 2023. Roll call.
Mayor Joe Shine.
Here.
Janet Charlton.
Here.
Jason Daly.
Here.
Randy Hall.
Here.
Mike Parsons.
Mike Parsons has to be excused for work.
Michael Ferguson.
Present.
Excellent. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mayor's report. Street work update, and there is an update for the update. The chip seal is supposed to still happen on the 16th as scheduled, but it sounds like the fog seal is going to be pushed back probably till the following Monday, the 25th. Just in case anyone was going to walk around and watch them do it, it might be a couple days later. Warden Park RCO grant, the final inspection was completed last week. The state was impressed with the final results of our park, and so it's a little bit of paperwork to finish up, but so far so good, and we met all the requirements for ADA access and all that other stuff, so all good news there. The state financial audit, the exit conference is scheduled for, and again, it's not the 25th, it's the 20th, correct? Yeah, okay, so I have the wrong date on there, so that is the 20th. Council is invited to attend. Talk to City Hall, we can make sure you get the Teams link for that, so it's a virtual conference. Water system, excuse me, the water system. We've got a meeting scheduled with the Lewis County Commissioner, the new county manager, and the Public Works Director for next week. It does sound like they are receptive to a extension to the agreement that we currently have. If you remember the agreement to start the request to get the water system back, our deadline was the end of this year, December 16th, I believe. They are receptive to an extension to that, which would be great for both us and them. They've kind of commingled various water systems around the county now that they operate, and so it's not exactly easy for them to just cut and release our water system without impacting their organization as well. And they are also interested in discussing perhaps a operations agreement where, similar to how we contract with Lewis County for sheriff's services, where we just write a check and then the county takes care of it. They're receptive to possibly an agreement for the water system as well, where they would maintain the employees and the operations for the plant, and we would take ownership and own the billing side of things, and we would just cut them a check every month for operation services. So, lots to think about, lots to work out if that is a direction that both organizations want to go, but we're going to start talking about it next week. Yeah.
Well, why did we have an extension? I mean, why did we miss the deadline, I guess?
We have not missed the deadline. The deadline is the end of this year to start the process to request it back. There is a lot of work to do before that, and we could get it done in the next 3 months, but it would just be much easier to budget that out a little longer instead of doing it all right now. We have to get the Department of Health involved, we have to get our certification back, we have to get our water system action plan drafted. There's a lot of stuff, and so it's just easier if we
Spread it out.
Spread it out a little bit.
I thought you said we missed something in December.
The deadline is December 16th.
Oh, this year is what you said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We did not miss the deadline.
The
deadline is coming up
to
start the request.
Gotcha.
And we're asking for an extension to that agreement.
What if they don't give us one? You think they will?
They said that they're receptive to that idea.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's positive. I don't want to say 100% because we haven't signed anything
We have
yet.
a backup plan if not.
The backup plan is you just get crazy and make it happen.
Okay.
So that's the backup plan.
Awesome.
To make it happen anyway. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
Moving on, planning committee, the new members. If you remember at the last meeting, Nicole didn't quite make the council meeting, so she wasn't sworn in. She did come right at the end after the meeting was over, and so we did swear Nicole in at the end after the meeting was over. And development update, we just got another subdivision application for 12 homes. This is the one that would be at the end of the east end of 10th Street. This is, so there, we would have our engineers and our planners looking at that stuff right now. Eventually there'll be another meeting about it, but this subdivision, as well as the one between D and E Street, the planning committee is going to be getting an update at their next meeting about it, but there are critical areas, basically the Old Creek and some of the tributaries in those areas and on those properties. And because of that, there's an allowance in our code that they can dedicate those parts of the properties back to the city. And in exchange for that, they get to have slightly smaller lots. So if you remember, our minimum lot size for the city is 7,500 square feet. They're able to go a little smaller because of the hardship they have because of the critical areas. And so both of these subdivisions are asking for that. And so the city does get something out of it. But because of that, there's going to be public hearings and planning committee work and city council votes and things like that. So there'll be a lot more to come for both of those because there's variances and things like that. But there'll be updates on that.
And so the one on 10th, is that like past Mike's? I mean,
10th
like where Mike lives is, whatever that is.
10th will be extended east a little ways, yes.
Is that, but I mean, is that, so you would go by Mike's Road, that's 10th, right?
So 10th, yeah, 10th goes all the way down, passes out Penn Court, and then 10th
Oh, okay, past.
kind of turns to the left and it turns into H as you make the left. 10th is going to keep going straight.
Isn't there a road, because they did that
There's
last
a driveway down there right now, but it's city right of way.
Is it like where Jonathan Miller lives, in that
It's
area?
behind the Spain's place.
Oh, behind Tommy Spain's
Yeah.
old
Back-
original place?
Back there, yeah.
Oh,
Huh?
Gotcha now. Okay,
Yeah,
and
it's
then the
along the
one
road,
6 and E,
driveway.
where's that, or what's the plan
It's
there?
D and E, it's between D and E. There's 12 or 15 homes back there as well.
I've been back there, I don't see it, but,
It's a huge empty field.
yeah,
Where is that?
behind Hayden Hancock's house.
Oh, thanks, Jason.
You're welcome.
You're awesome.
I prefer
I'm glad we're like close
between D
together.
and E on the
Yeah,
south
no,
side.
I'm like, okay, now I know what we're talking about. Just
Well, that
someday-
duck pond, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
someday we'll
Duck
all
pond,
be
yeah,
in
that's
it,
the
and
duck-
we'll, you know.
Remember the duck pond?
Gotcha. Duck pond, yep. Back behind Hayden. So behind Hayden, I thought that was our property.
They're actually going to re-engineer the duck pond as part of their stormwater management system. So that's good news.
I thought we owned a park up there where that is.
On the south end of E, where E makes the bend to Park Street,
Yeah.
there is a large park property back there that's undeveloped. John has started, some of the soil from, I wouldn't call it soil, but some of the dirt and fill from the Worden Park project was moved back there
Okay,
to start
dropped
making
off, yeah.
a flat area for parking eventually. Part of their agreement, the subdivision agreement with the developer, would be some improvements to that park. So the critical area that they're going to donate back is actually, it neighbors the existing park. So basically the park's going to get bigger, but, and so they'll be doing some upgrades to that critical area. And one of those would be a cul-de-sac at the end of E with parking for the Park Street Park. And then they could also probably level it out and make it a usable park again for all the new residents back
I
there.
get what you're saying about the old clock, because it's right there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so all that's still in the planning, but
Okay.
one of the neat things about having developers come in with subdivisions is that the city does get some improvements beyond just more homes. For instance, back there, they're going to be doing sidewalks, and East Street will be paved all the way up to 10th. So the gravel will be gone. So there'll be a lot of
Yeah, for
improvements.
sure. So when it's at the planning committee, they kind of make the stipulation what they kind of want to see as far as
Is there
like.
going to be,
sidewalks and things
Yeah, so
like that?
so no, it's already in our code that
Oh, okay.
that's mandated in our code. Yeah, it's not
Okay.
optional.
Okay, cool.
And so our engineers and city engineer and planner will make sure that the plan adheres to all of the city codes. So by the time the planning committee sees it, they can make sure that, they can kind of double check and they can see what codes and what variances they're applying for. And, our paid professionals will have their staff report for the folks so that they can know that it's being done correctly.
There'll be a stop sign there coming from E to 10.
Good, that
South to north.
hasn't been discussed, but if council wants a stop sign there, we
Yeah,
can put
I think so.
with the extra 7 or 8 homes that'll be down there on that side.
Where they drive it now, we need a stop sign.
I thought it was 15.
Isn't that park, isn't that park supposed to be also a way for the enchanted, for them to get to Vader?
The park road, it already does connect to the roads within the Enchanted Valley residential area, but there is a barricade that goes across that road to prevent travel. It was up, it's been up for a long time. I'm not sure if county or city put it up, but there is a barricade to prevent travel that direction. The park's separate.
There's a path that goes through, so you can,
There used to be.
There's a road that goes through.
It's just blocked with a big concrete barrier.
It's a guardrail.
Metal.
It's a guardrail.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a metal guardrail that goes across the road.
Gotta drive
There
it.
is a road that goes all the way through. The park does connect
Concrete one at
to
one time.
Enchanted Valley already, but it's blocked.
I've been down there forever. It's kind of scary.
So, all right, so that's the development update.
Thank you.
One last thing that's not on there, training. I think everyone's gotten emails about elected official training through our insurance company. I believe Melanie was saying that everyone has till the end of the month to get that done. The insurance company, then in October, November, they start sending the city their estimates for insurance for the following year. And so please get the training done. It does help with our deductibles and our rates. All right, council reports. Any members of the council have anything to report?
The guy that lives on David, lives with the sheep on 10th and E, he is not there anymore. He had fourth-term cancer, and Betty's been in rehab home for a while. There was a notice on the door, probably from her, Betty's daughter, trying to evict David, even though he lived there 25 years.
Right,
So I don't know if you need to know that.
probably not.
The sheep, we've been giving food to the sheep because nobody's there.
Oh, no one's taking care of the sheep?
Well, we are.
You
My
are?
wife
Oh,
and actually,
But so no one's,
David's son, Wally and Michelle, they visited a couple of times. But I'm not sure if they know about the 90-day vacate.
what's going to happen to the sheep?
Well, it'll be Betty's daughter's problem when she owns the property, I guess.
I got an idea for them sheep.
Hey,
They're older, I don't think it'll taste right.
Lamb night at Little Creek.
They are pretty old sheep though.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe somebody has animals and take them.
Well, if anyone has a contact
What about
that wants sheep, maybe we can put them into
guy
contact
up
with
in
the
the
owners.
corner with the big property and the livestock?
But still, it's not
Frank,
our sheep to give
Yeah.
away, so we can't really make arrangements for sheep.
Yeah, you can't just like sick the public on somebody's sheep.
Well, no, I'm not.
They're-
I'm sure if it was a home and someone could find where David is, he would say yes.
Sure. Well,
well, I know Rhonda. I'll message her and ask her if someone can take care of the sheep.
Who's Rhonda?
Rhonda, the daughter.
Oh, you know
I've
what?
known her my whole life, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, so I guess the word out that there's possibly some free sheep. And maybe
But they're hungry.
we
Well,
can put them in
that's-
contact with
Well, that's the
somebody.
thing, you can't, I think what he's saying
Free
is.
hungry.
You can talk to Dave and
Yeah.
Betty and then
Putting
get permission to take the sheep. And
apple.
maybe we can facilitate that.
Yeah, because there is an
Connection.
ordinance that you can't like let animals starve to death.
My turtle every once in a while.
So, I mean, it's like somebody's got to,
That's what it is.
we have to do something. I guess it's kind of these.
Well, you were looking for something to do. I
don't feed them.
hand this off to you.
Sheep?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason for mentioning it is trying to get the word out, try to find a home for those animals.
Yeah. All right.
I think Dave just let them eat the grass down. I don't know that he ever supplementally fed them.
No, he did. There's grain out there that he had, and hay.
I don't think there's any grass under those trees, honestly.
Yeah, yeah,
There
there is.
is? Not very much. They've been there for years. The sheep.
Well,
They go all
Oh,
over
they
the
go through the
world.
world, oh, okay.
Into the,
you know who loves big farm animals? Scott Gross.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Mostly horses.
We'll have to
but-
talk to Scott.
Yeah.
but I don't know how to get permission to do it unless you ask Rhonda to say it's okay. But
Yeah.
I don't think it belongs to her yet, does it?
Oh, because they were married, David and,
Were they married?
I don't know.
No,
Well, then it is up to Rhonda, because I mean, that's her mother's home.
right,
Yeah.
but he.
Might be a bit-
Probably owns half of them anyway.
But after the council
Okay.
meeting,
All right.
I don't know, I'm
Well, you
not, I'm
know,
not a lawyer, but they've lived there for 25 years.
and this is a hot topic tonight.
Yeah.
Sheep.
I got you. So it can be.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, either. I'll just message you, see what the story is. How about that?
Well, the story is,
We're taking care of our own ordinances. We don't have an ordinance person, so Randy and I
there's a 90-day notice,
are, you know.
dated August 31st, for him to vacate
Okay,
from an attorney.
all right. Yeah. Very
That's
good.
it, that's all I know. But
I don't know
I just,
anything.
between me and the neighbors, we've been taking care of the sheep for now.
Okay.
The kids not do 4-H anymore in your house? No?
I live in the city.
Let's not extend this conversation to 4-H.
Well, I mean, animals, traditionally, the city council, since I've been involved, has always, really taken to the animal discussions. I mean, there was the pigs.
Potbelly pigs.
Potbelly pigs as pets, a thing that we'd be around for a while.
Yeah.
Just anyway, so there's always there's
Well,
a love for animals here.
yeah,
Any other council reports?
Well, I don't have a report, but now that leads me to a question, not about animals,
Okay.
but a question in general. Just so I understand, when we have someone break an ordinance of any kind, whatever that is, whether it's an animal abuse, whether it's you got junk cars on your property, whatever it is, who's dealing with that? No one, or does it take someone to file? I mean, I don't want you to get defensive, right? I mean, I'm not like you. I'm saying, who, do you need to file a complaint before someone, it's like, I don't know, is it Lisa's job or whose job? Do they say, oh, we'll send them a letter and then they don't do anything? I mean, I don't know the process now. So do we have a process? Number one, what is
So it depends on the ordinance. Most of the ordinances are not necessarily, they're more code enforcement than anything else, right? So if you're talking about animals and things like that.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
eventually,
Yeah.
depending on how, depending on what it was, if it turns into like neglect, it could be criminal. At
Yeah.
that point, then it would go to another level, it
Oh,
would go to
for
law
sure. Yeah.
enforcement. But if it wasn't to the point where it was criminal,
Mhm.
let's say it was tall grass, right? It's
Okay.
not criminal, but it's
Right.
maybe
In our
a nuisance, right? It's our code.
Yeah.
Right? The code enforcement officer in the city code is the city clerk. And so there are two avenues. So one, either the city could notice it, and generally we first, or a resident could submit a complaint
Okay,
on this. And so there's lots of ways to submit a complaint, either just verbally at the window or an email or whatever. And if the citizen submits a complaint, I would say we probably always follow up on it. If we get a citizen complaint, we follow up on it. The city does, I know it sounds weird, but the city does not need to necessarily enforce all of its codes all of the time.
right, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not like if there's that junk car that's over there and that junk car that's over there, and for whatever reason, that junk car is causing more of a nuisance than that one, and we pick on that junk car, we send them a letter or whatever.
Right.
We're not showing favoritism, and it's okay
No,
that we do that.
Yeah.
So, person B with the junk car that we end up sending a letter to, if they complain, what about that junk car?
Yeah.
We don't have to do both. So generally the procedure is we send them a courtesy notice. This is the ordinance, this or the code, and please follow up on it. Most of the time it gets taken care of. If you poke at somebody, they're like, oh, I'm embarrassed, and they take care of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes not. And at that point, it's at the city's discretion whether we want to escalate it. If we do escalate it, it involves the attorney because we need to do it right. Because if we don't do it right, we can get sued
Right.
for violating someone's civil rights.
Yeah.
And so when you start doing that, then it starts costing money, right? So the attorney puts some time into it, it's a couple $100, and they put an official notice of violation letter together, and we send that to the person. There's usually a deadline for them to respond and a deadline for them to fix the issue, and also the cost for the attorney to submit that.
Yeah.
If they still don't comply, we can start leveraging fines against them. And they're daily fines, and they can just go up and up and up and up. At some point, we could maybe put a lien on someone's house for the fines. City at probably its discretion again could probably clean up the issue, whatever the issue is, ourselves, and then again leverage that cost against them in the way of fines. That's the procedure.
Okay. Well, I do like when, I don't know who sends out the newsletter. Is it you or Lisa, whoever?
Newsletter?
Yeah.
Kristen.
So sometimes they'll put in there, hey, reminder, this is a code in, Vader, if it's a dog.
We've done, there's a few that we've done, like
so-
burning in the city.
Yeah, so I'm
things like
wondering
that.
if maybe we would be a great idea, just like every time we send one out, just pick a different ordinance that seems to be a problem in Vader.
Yeah, we've done
Just
that.
to kind of
sometimes.
because there are a lot of new people, and I don't know them all, and I've tried to read them, but I've been on the council twice and I still don't know it. So new people may not be aware that, you can't have 10 vehicles piled up in your yard. But you know what I'm saying?
Most people are probably aware, but they just.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
So maybe if we could do
So
something like that.
So it is a balancing act on
Yeah.
whether we are or not, because, the city has a budget, and if they don't pay these fines that accrue, there's nothing that will make them pay it. We can't, I guess at some point maybe we could go to small claims court, but then again, that
Costs money, for sure.
And so you be careful. If you bite off more than you can chew, then we've got thousands and thousands of dollars, and there's no way to get it back.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
All right. Just a
But
thought.
definitely if citizens complain, we try to follow up regardless. That's what we're here to
I would
do.
like to see that in the newsletter, though. I mean, what's about.
Yeah, we can do that.
Besides the birding and the dogs, they just start picking some out, the.
Ordinance of the month.
Yeah, there you go. Ordinance of the month.
Be an
I
exciting
love
corner
it.
of the newsletter, I'm sure.
That's right. Put
Ooh, what's
flowers
in it
around
this-
it and
Yeah,
little
what's in it this
cartoons.
week?
Yeah. I don't know why have them if we're not gonna,
All right. Agenda approval. I don't have any changes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda for the city council meeting for September 13th, 2023.
A motion by Ms. Charlton to approve the agenda for September 13th as written. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Daly. Discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Minutes approval.
I'll make a motion that we approve the city council meeting minutes for August 30th, 2023.
So a motion on Mr. Daly to approve the minutes for August 30th, 2023. Do we have a second? Second on Mr. Hall. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Voucher approval.
Make a motion to approve the voucher approval 1st of September 2023, $48,046.84.
We have a motion by Mr. Hall to approve the vouchers as written. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Daly. Any discussion?
I did have a question.
Mhm.
The Lewis.
Wait a second. No, this is the discussion. I'm sorry. Now you can do it.
I just wanted to ask what the Lewis County 911 charge was.
Every municipality gets charged a quarterly amount based on population
Okay.
for 911 services, and that's our chunk.
All 911. Okay,
That's how it works. It's one of the ways 911 gets funded.
okay, awesome, thank you.
Mhm. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Special reports, Lewis County Sheriff's Department.
Good evening. August law enforcement totals. For the month of August, there were 376 citizen contacts, a total of 18 calls for service, 4 of which were when a deputy was dedicated to the city of Vader, 5 traffic stops, and that was pretty much it. Any questions? Not seeing it.
No,
Thanks.
All right, city business, item number 1. Council to consider resolution number 17, 2023, authorizing the mayor to represent the city of Vader for grant funding assistance to the Recreation and Conservation Office, project number 231658M. So RCO is a state agency. They award grants to different organizations for many projects. One of those is parks. This is a new grant. They're trying out grant program for the first time. It's for local parks and maintenance. This would be for deferred maintenance of structures or park facilities that are 50 years and newer. So if you have an old building, they don't want you using the grant funding to fix up the old building. And so the Parks Board is, and Kristen, one of the clerks at City Hall, are working on putting a list together. This resolution is one of the requirements from RCO that lists the people that are able to interact with them for the grant. This grant is no match required, so it's 100% free to the city if awarded. It will be there'll be a lot of applicants, and they only have a $5 million budget. And so it's not at all a guarantee that we'll get it. The items that they're going to focus on, and the deadline is next week, and so they're still trying to put together finalize the list of items, but they will include Warden Park maintenance on the existing bathrooms over there. So that concrete building has some cracks in the roof. So they're looking at getting the cracks fixed. The plumbing in the building needs to get replaced. A lot of the automatic flushing of the toilets and things like that, they get stuck. So replacing the plumbing. What else? The door handles on the bathrooms need to get replaced, and they were looking at getting some timed locks so that they would lock automatically in the evenings. And on the pavilion itself, the old structure, getting a metal roof installed, fixing the dry rot, new picnic tables under that exists, the older pavilion, and also fixing the Vader history signs that are under that facility. So
is this all at Warden Park, nothing of Murphy?
correct, because it's maintenance.
There's no buildings there.
So there's really nothing at the moment to maintain at McMurphy for a grant.
We can't do picnic tables.
There's nothing there to replace because it's deferred maintenance, and so there aren't picnic tables there. Well, I guess there are a few under the, that's a good point, there are a few under the trees. We could look at adding a few more in for that too. So just generally, that's what I was looking for. It's a $50,000 to $100,000 ask is what the grant's for. So it's a quick turnaround. If it was approved, we'd have the money this year. So it's pretty exciting. But then again, everyone's really excited about it. There's lots of chatter around the county, and of course, probably around the state for it. So.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 17-2023, authorizing the mayor to represent the city of Vader for grant funding.
We've got a motion by Mr. Daly to approve resolution number 17-2023. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Charlton. Any further discussion? RCO is the grant organization that paid for all the playground equipment at Worden Park.
Awesome.
Well, not all of it, obviously. There was a match on that, but. All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of resolution 17-2023, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Council discussion continues regarding law enforcement costs and covered options. So I sent an email out earlier today. I believe there's a copy of the agenda bill in there with the background on what the goal of this was. I do have a number of things I'm still trying to put together, questions for the county and questions from some other cities. So some of this, the estimate on Vader's costs could change. One of my big questions is municipal court costs. My understanding right now is that if we did not have a contract with Lewis County Sheriff's Department, and they did come here and then they did, say, arrest somebody and they utilized the court system, it seems at this point, my understanding, that we would not get a bill from the court system. We would get a bill from the sheriff's office for response, but not necessarily from court services. If that changes, our costs could go up significantly. It seems like right now, a prudent budget, if we were to not have a contract, would still be nearly $50,000 to cover law enforcement responses within the city. And so we can look to PL as a good example of that. PL did not have a law enforcement department and did not have a contract with Lewis County. I talked with the PL clerk about their actual costs, and their actual costs for sheriff's response was nearly $34,000 a year just for 911 call-outs, and nearly $5,000 a year for care and custody of prisoners, so that would be jail costs and things like that, and still a couple $1,000s a year for their city attorney when issues did arise with defendants and in the city. So and so that is, so Vader would be prudent.
So those costs that care custody and attorney go way up.
It really depends, right? I mean, there's an average year and then there's the bad year
Right.
for a particular.
How much is our current contract? Sure.
Our current contract is around 90. It's going to go up to about 115, I believe, something like that. And so
Less hours.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, no,
So really, our current contract, half of that is just response, 911 response. And you could view half of it as 911 response, and the other half is patrol. It would be one way to kind of look at it. We're on the hook for half of that, no matter what, just for 911 calls. So it really kind of depends on what.
Are you talking to the other mayors about interlocal agreements?
Not necessarily a one-on-one in a local agreement. One of the, looking at more of a larger picture instead of maybe just listening. Be a Southwest regional multi-city law enforcement department instead of having Vader work with Toledo, or Vader work with Winlock. Have all 5 cities get together, have a regional office, maybe almost like a fire district,
Yeah.
where you'd have maybe the mayor or a city council person from every city sit on a committee that would oversee this department. And at current budget levels for all the cities, you're looking at least 12 officers for the 5 cities. And with a department that large, you could have 4 officers, probably 4 officers on the street at any given time. So, if you would assume that if Winlock and Napavine had an officer 24 hours, the other 3 cities could split 2. So that'd be 16 hours, a day for every city of active patrol time, which is a lot better than we get now.
Yeah.
And so it's a big hurdle. It's in the initial stages of discussion to see if people are interested. But then it wouldn't be one small city. It would be all the cities working together.
That'd be awesome.
And it would be a real game changer. It would scale really well when a city's got bigger. Everyone could put more into the pot if they needed more law enforcement, and they could hire more. Kind of something I'm poking at right now, trying to get the feel for. Some of the cities that I've talked to are interested.
That's awesome.
But that's a big thing, right? So, working on it.
Okay, so devil's advocate, if that falls through, do we have a backup?
My suggestion right now for city council is to continue with the Lewis County Sheriff's Department, at least in the short term. They wanted to go to a year-to-year contract. I think that's probably wise for Vader right now. I know that 12 hours doesn't sound attractive, but I still think it's probably the best option out of some of the things that we've been given now, unless some other options present themselves. And I'm still talking to a few people. Yeah, Mike?
Sure. So quick question. So the examples that you gave for the amount of money spent, that's PL, blah, blah, blah. They have their own police force. So that's an example of a bill that they received from Lewis County for that expense, correct?
Correct, yeah. If you're looking at the document and under the PL section, those are their actual numbers that they got, not having a contract with Lewis County, just for call outs.
Got you. So like if we gambled and went outside of that and tried to do our own thing, that's something additional that we would want to have a set aside budget for.
Well, it's true. Let's say Vader had one law enforcement officer, and obviously that law enforcement officer isn't working all the time. So who comes when he's not working? Lewis County Sheriff's Department, and they're going to bill us at the numbers that Mr. Schnaza gave were $75 to $90 an hour. He wasn't really sure what the new rates were going to be, and so last year the city had 213 call outs. 213 call outs times an average of 3 hours per call out. By the time they get down here, they do whatever it is they do their paperwork and they leave, you're looking at 3 hours a call out. If you're at, $50 an hour, times 200 calls, you're at $40,000. So it doesn't take much to get to those numbers.
But you're basically
Correct.
213 calls on not having a police department or a police
That's correct.
officer.
Right.
So you don't have one. So
that's
200
correct.
and something calls is with
So,
nothing.
right. So, I mean, if you have to, how often would our officer be there to respond to a call?
Yeah.
Would it be 25% of the time? So now we're down to 150 calls get responded to by Lewis County. We're still, tens of thousands of dollars.
Can't we just, basically PL is our size.
It would be a similar example, yeah.
So, if you just take these numbers and use them.
Which is why I was saying, it's probably, we're still on the hook for 50,000 whether we have a contract or not.
Thanks for clearing that up, Joe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I said, I'm still working on a few other things. One of the things I'm not sure about are our municipal court costs. Currently we enjoy court services through Lewis County as part of our contract. If the city of Vader had its own law enforcement officer, we would need to have a court services contract through somebody, more than likely Winlock Municipal Court.
Yeah,
And so Toledo has a new agreement with the Winlock Municipal Court, and you can see it online and read it. They don't have, the only cost they have on there is filing fees, but they are going to forward all costs resulting from the prosecuting attorneys, jury compensation, witnesses, just everything. Any costs get forwarded on. So and easily that could be, depending on how many people we get arrested.
what is this under Toledo?
So under Toledo, there's 40,000 for Winlock contract police services. One of the things Toledo has done in the past is instead of utilizing when they only have one officer for a while, they had an agreement with Winlock, so Winlock would come over if their officer was not available, and I believe that is what that 40,000 was
So we
for.
could really do something like that too.
We could.
Yeah.
But again, we probably need to have our own court costs or court services as well. Again, 10, 20. I'm working on the court costs number to be sure, but it's not, it would certainly be.
We'd still have that $40,000 sheriff response cost.
I mean, there'd still be, unless we have 24/7 coverage that the sheriff needs to respond, we're still going to need to budget for sheriff response. If we end up having any other law enforcement agency, unless, say, for instance, Toledo wants to give us an all-inclusive contract with their court services through Winlock, good chance we'll need to have our own court services agreement, which is going to be expensive. I'm actually waiting to hear back from Toledo. I'm trying to talk to Eric about the mayor pro tem about their contract offer, and if they were really interested in being all-inclusive with court costs as well.
Do they have a jail?
They don't, but they utilize Winlock Court Services and Lewis County Jail. And so,
I mean, honestly, even if, let's just hypothetically.
there's a lot of factors.
Yeah, there's a
here.
lot of factors. I'm just throwing this out there. Let's just say Woodlock or Toledo, or, I don't care who it is at this point. Say, hey, we'll give you 25 hours a week or, I don't know, 5,000 a month, whatever it is. That's still more hours, even when you add this in, and less money than it is with the sheriff's department. I mean, I guess I don't understand what exactly is the sheriff's department's job? Just to cover the county? And then anything that's not in the county is the responsibility of the city to pay? I mean, because we all pay taxes that I thought went to pay the courts and the sheriffs. And are they just, they're like the state patrol. The state patrol goes all over the state, but they're in charge of the state highways. Is the sheriff's just in charge of things that are outside of the city limits? Normally,
Normally, but I mean, if no one responds, I believe kind of there's like an escalation path where, if a city doesn't have an active responder, it goes to the next level, which would be the sheriff. And I believe if the sheriff couldn't respond, it probably goes up to the next level. Does that sound about right?
You have primary and secondary jurisdiction. Primary jurisdiction would be each municipality would have their own. They would be if there was a city of law enforcement officer in Vader, then they would be the primary law enforcement officer for Vader, just like the city of Winlock would be the primary for Winlock. And when they collect taxes, you have road taxes, you have taxes for everything. The law enforcement dollars are divvied out so much, the taxes that came from the city of Vader, this percentage is given back to the city of Vader for law enforcement. Same thing with PL. The unincorporated people, their tax dollars for law enforcement are sent to the sheriff's office. So in other words, you meaning the city of Vader are you are not paying anything into the county without a contract. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So we don't, so
Completely.
when we all just list whatever Vader pays, or the taxes that we all pay, a portion of that does not, you're saying does not go to the sheriff's department at all? It just goes to
Not
the city of
without a
Vader?
contract or without a billing cycle. It gets this, I didn't say the city, but when the powers that be
Yeah.
are giving up the taxes, they go, they collected the taxes and they say, okay, this is the law enforcement section for Vader. This is the law enforcement section of the taxes for PL. This is for Chehalis. This is for Centralia. This is what's within Lewis County that does not live in one of those jurisdictional boundaries.
So, you understand that? So if I
That's
lived
what
in the
makes up
county,
our budget.
I pay taxes and it goes to the sheriff's office, but in cities it
I hate
comes
to tell you, I have
here
a
so we
pretty
can
high
pay
view, I got it,
them,
Jason.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
So if they come in to provide service within the city limits, we need to reimburse them for their services
Gotcha.
with their portion of the taxes.
And if they go out between here and Riderwood, it just comes out of their pot that they got because.
They're already
not-
funded.
Yeah, they're already funded. Look, hey!
All right. We all got it.
Okay.
So, I've got some more talking to do. I've got some more numbers to figure out.
Awesome.
I'll put this on the agenda again for next week, for our next meeting.
So Toledo, you talking to different mayor now, because the mayor resigned.
The pro tem is acting and,
For health reasons.
I think they have 90 days to appoint a new mayor, but the election is coming up, Eric actually is not running for office for mayor.
He hasn't?
He is not. And so there are two other folks that are running, and so they would probably be, I would imagine they'll take their seat after Eric.
That's already a nice guy.
So. Can't remember there's a lady that's running, I can't remember her name. Heard really great things about her. And then Jake Morgan is also running for mayor. He's a really great guy too. I've known him since we were kids. So
You got him in then.
I've gotten in.
Yeah.
I don't have a preference. They'd both be good for Toledo. Any other questions on this right now? I know there's a lot of information. You guys can take a look at it if you want and see if you can decipher anything else, other options out of it. But it is interesting when you start looking around the area and you start seeing that, Napavine has, a $700,000 budget for law enforcement. Castle Rock, I don't have it on here, but Castle Rock's overall budget for law enforcement is $1 million.
Right, but they have huge not huge
Population
population, but
isn't-
their
The
population,
density of that city is crazy.
yeah, and
So,
Wenlock is growing,
even
Vader's growing.
Morton's that have 500,000, we don't necessarily look at some of these cities and think that they're all that big, and they're really, in the grand scheme of things, they're not that big, but it just shows that law
They have
enforcement is
businesses,
very expensive.
Mhm,
So,
for sure.
The tax distributions from the businesses that are incorporated in those cities as well,
Mhm.
Think about that.
Yeah, a lot of these cities have, they'll have 4 police officers in a $700,000 budget, pretty crazy.
Maybe we should do like Wenlock and extend our boundaries.
Who do you want?
Well, Dollar General. That would be some money.
High five on that one.
A great way to get these seats full is to start talking about annexation.
I
towards
know,
Dollar
right?
General. Suddenly, the seats in here are very full.
Really? Have we ever talked about it?
We have, last year.
Yeah?
Mhm. Oh,
And there were
yeah.
people against it?
Oh, there was a petition and all kinds of things.
Really?
We were just talking about it.
Was it people that lived in Vader?
People that live over there.
Oh, there's not that many on that side.
Right.
Yeah,
And they were very,
I'm bringing it up.
very opposed to being within the city limits.
Towards the,
Yeah, well, so are the people in Wenlock.
And it gets a lot of news.
towards the ocean.
Really?
They are pretty annoyed with the Dollar General at this point, though. So maybe they
Yeah.
changed their mind. I don't know.
Any other talk on law enforcement right now? I will put, like I said, I'll bring this up next meeting and we'll talk about it some more. I'll have more information for you.
Very complex.
It's a big decision. All right, hearing nothing else. Moving on to item number 3, council discussion continues regarding city speed limits. I know in our last meeting, we talked about some speed limits around town. One of the things kind of challenged council to do is while you're driving around town, maybe go 20 or 25 and see how it feels, and, you know, just any other thoughts?
Well,
I think that we need to
hard.
post the speed limit.
Okay.
We don't have the speed limit posted in any of these areas that people want to reduce the speed limit. I also think that reducing the speed limits, like, I don't know, other laws, people follow laws that they want to follow. And so we're in a small community. We can police our neighbors. You see if your neighbor's kid's driving by really fast and go over and talk to them. And it's handled pretty simply, you know.
Isn't the city streets speed limit 20 miles an hour or 25?
You know, I dug through the city code and I can't find it. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a code. You know, I'm not really sure
Let's ask
where,
the sheriff, do you know?
where,
I know on our county roads, that's a good question on the city streets.
yeah,
You know, you think 25 is, normally you don't see lower than 25 unless it's marked.
Like school zones.
But,
Yeah, and anything over 25 on any of these streets is just ridiculous.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're so bumpy anyway.
For sure.
okay, anyway.
So,
it's 25.
but-
I think maybe some like slow kids playing sign too, because we used to have those around town, like where there were a lot of kids in the neighborhood, they had like slow kids to play or whatever.
could just be a resolution or something the council passes that says all city roads, except for school districts, are this. I can look into that and see. But definitely we can look into
We should do it and post it,
contact for that.
and post it, yeah.
Posting, okay. Can do that in key points.
Yeah, because I
Put-
went
put a
20
thing
and I
together.
didn't feel like I was going that fast.
20?
Yeah. I mean, what do you drive?
Well, I noticed driving down 8th Street to get here, I was going 23 and I felt like I was going too fast.
Yeah.
Because it's really bumpy.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to go by some trailers that are like
Yeah.
from me to you guys away, and I always
The
feel
speed
weird.
control is our bumpy streets.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you like
I-
15 or something on the
No,
side streets?
No,
I mean, what do you think?
I think 20 is fine around town myself.
Yeah, because I tried 15 and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's
You know,
too
what
slow.
I'm surprised is that along 506 coming into town, that's really 35. You go in most other cities, club cities, even going on the main highway, coming into town, city area, the bus slows down to at least 25.
But that's
It was
a state,
35.
That's a state highway.
that's a
though.
state highway.
Yeah,
We'd have
but
to petition
there's a
them.
state highway, I think, going through these other towns as well, and they cut back to 25.
PL is 35.
Mhm.
Oh,
Any
it's 25.
comment on that?
I'd have to look at each one separately, but again, it's something you'd have to cover with the state, because you wouldn't have the authority here to adjust that speed limit.
That's move the state to do it.
Yeah,
Toledo's done a lot of work, because, they've got the highway that comes through town as well,
Yeah.
and they've worked with,
What's the speed?
it does, yeah, it does go down to like 25, I believe, through town.
yeah,
No,
most
no.
towns it is.
And they've
going
also
down.
put some other traffic control up. If you go by the post office,
Same
they
way.
have cones up and
You
everything.
go on the state highway, it's always
There's
25.
That's
certainly
true.
more,
Not by now.
if you look through at you consider the downtown Toledo area there,
Yeah.
it's certainly a more
Castle Rock,
narrow,
Line,
narrow area than what Vader sees out here. Vader has a much bigger highway. And,
yeah, it's a short stance, but still.
okay, well, I can I'll look into that. So we'll get to,
Oh my, it's slow down to 25.
we got the council
Highway.
a list, what it might cost for signs. And then also, what we need to do is officially as far as like a resolution or ordinance or anything like that.
I mean, how do you really post 20 mile an hour signs all over town? I mean,
We just put them on like the first beginning of it,
A
basically.
couple ways you can do it. Maybe some of the bigger intersections you could put it. You could even put, I've seen cities do, you know, coming in on both sides, say all side streets, 20 miles an hour, you know, that kind of thing. I've seen that in different places.
Let's ask the sheriff. He's been to all the towns.
You've got all the answers.
No, I mean, that's something like that to minimize.
Put more stop signs.
More stop signs. Uh-oh.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna suggest speed bumps, are you? We already talked about that.
These are that little potholes.
Yeah.
Stop is a
Or
four-letter
potholes.
word for Mr. Ferguson.
Potholes will do it.
So, okay, I have some homework then for that. Okay, any other discussion? Any public comment tonight?
Yeah, I have a question about the update on the grant on the $130,000 that we spent for the receivership through the outfit we hired. Thanks.
Bob, I'm not sure what you're talking about. The $130,000 number doesn't ring a bell, and I don't know.
There
when
was
you say
there was two different things that passed. One was 100,000, one was 30,000 when Mike was mayor, when you were gone. So, and he told me that it was going to be a grant, paid by grant.
Oh, yeah.
I missed one meeting and you guys approved
Hey,
things.
wait, I got notes here. I got my notes.
Can I chime in on that? So I think you might be referring to the repairs that we did to the roadway there from the sewage treatment plant,
This would be
No.
which was the last
No,
bit of the grant funding, possibly. I don't know.
look back through the
What is he-
records and you'll see it. It's an action through the council, so it's there. Damn.
It'd be
It
like
was.
August
Hold on.
3rd or something. We're looking, hold on.
It's an amendment of this agreement, I think. First consultant services agreement, was it that? Proposed budget 30,000.
So Shia Carr and Jewel, that's SCJ Alliance with our city planner. So it may have been that. The city is getting grant funding through the state to update our comprehensive plan and also other Growth Management Act related documents. And so we have I think it looks like on that agenda, we had an amendment to our contract with our city planners so that they could perform that work for us and utilize that grant funding for those documents. Does that sound right?
Okay.
That's what was on the agenda that week, that first week in August?
This right here. There's amendment and there's a contract amendment. The council
Okay.
considers.
Yeah, Bob, we have
So on
the
August 2nd.
August
you're on
2nd
vacation.
agenda. Yeah, it was at
Camp.
summer camp, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the agenda. It's the GMA grant work and water receivership. Oh, okay, I see why they're being blended together. Got it. So our city planners are going to do two different things for us. In addition to all of the regular work that they do for us related to building permits and other development related items, they're going to do the help us with our our new comprehensive plan. We're getting $100,000 from the state to work on that. And so their contract included that work in it. The other part of the contract amendment was for the water department receivership. So I mentioned it earlier, one of the things the city needs to do before we get the water system back is to have a water system action plan. This is a 100-page document that talks about the water utility in detail. Obviously, the city staff doesn't have the expertise to write that, and so we would rely on our city planners to help us with that document. SCJ Alliance has engineers on staff that are fluent in utilities such as that, and so we amended the contract with our planners to include that work in case we needed them to do that. And of course, it looks like we are.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
But unfortunately, this receivership stuff is not grant funded. That would be on the city to pay for. All right. Glad we got that straight.
Me too.
Any other public comment? Meeting is adjourned at 7:03 p.m.
What happened to the elected official comments?